Hello, I have with me today Paula Davis, happy parent of a 12-year-old student with Wings to Soar Online Academy. Paula, can you tell me what were some of the things you had tried with Grace before you came to Wings to Soar?
My daughter is 12, so she's technically in 7th grade. I homeschooled her. I started her with for kindergarten, and that wasn't a big deal. But when she was about 6 or 7, we started reading curriculum, and we did a lot of games. And eventually, when she learned her letters, we started little books that she would start reading, 3-letter words and sort of progressing on from there. And she did a couple workbooks, too, to go along with that. I tried to keep plugging along with that, thinking, okay, this is how we do reading. Eventually, she was closer to 7. She just got sick of it. She said, that's enough. You're pushing too hard. Or I would try a lesson with her and she would cry. It makes you think, oh gosh, now I should probably hold off on this. And then it would just get to be too much for her, too much for me, thinking I don't want to push her too hard and she'll never want to read. Mm-hmm. And so we would take a break. It would be more of an informal reading. And I would start getting nervous about it and think, okay, let's do it again. Let's try this again. She's 9. And then we would try that whole thing again. She's older, right? It would be about roughly the same kind of curriculum. It just never worked. That would be the pattern. So a year of doing it through curriculum, take a year off, it was too much. And then it would happen again and again. Yeah, we did that up until just turned 12 when we started Wings to Soar. I think now she's approached a time in her life where she sees that she needs to be a fluent reader to function in groups and society. So we've kind of met that point where she has an understanding that she needs to learn it, and I'm relieved because now this is a good time to introduce something that might work for her.
And so what would you say were the biggest frustrations you had before switching to Wings to Soar?
That it wasn't fun for her. Well, I thought it was kind of fun because we were doing, little games like what's the missing letter with cards. And I kind of thought it would be fun for her, but I think she saw through that and she thought, oh, mommy's trying to teach her to read again, So I think she didn't like to just sit down and do those little cards, or she didn't like any of the drills where I would sight words. Let's go through the sight words. Will you read those to me?
Mm-hmm.
She didn't like any of that sort of sit down, structured, mommy's testing you type thing, So I think that was probably the biggest struggle. And because of that, because of her not being at a high enough level to be able to read fun books. The books I was giving her to read were boring and not fun. Those very beginning books. And that held us up for a long time. So those are the struggles.
So what was your big aha moment when you realized you needed to try something different?
Well, I had that I need to try something different, I guess, every few years, but for some reason, I just didn't know what that different was. The big aha moment was her age, I guess. Her age made me get scared because she was going to go to high school in 1 to 2 years, and I thought, well, is she going to go to a traditional high school, or is she going to stay home? Because that decision was going to come up in 1 to 2 years, I started getting myself a little panicked about it, about her transition. Of course, reading is involved in every subject, everything. My thoughts were I had to get her up to that level.
So what were the main reasons why you chose Wings to Soar to help with this?
First of all, I didn't even know about this. I went to a homeschooling conference every year. I had gone to one of your workshops, and in your workshops, I remember you talking about working with middle school, catching them up. But I didn't know about this Wings to Soar, yet. I just went to that, and then I came home. That was in May, and then closer to September with school starting up, I started thinking about this transition thing, how to get Grace to read again. I had started going through some of the leaflets from the conference, and I ran into the Wings to Soar brochure. I hadn't really connected it to you yet, but I just started reading the brochure. What I liked about what I read was that it was customized. It was learn at your own pace. Those were the two main things that got me at least interested. And then I gave you a call and noticed that, oh, I went to your conference. This is going to be great.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So what was catching your eye in the brochure was that it was a custom learning plan.
Yes.
And it was going to be paced at the appropriate pace for Grace.
That brought forth all the things you said in the conference, too, and all the testimonials and how well it worked and all. So that just sort of added to that. Let's go for it. And it was very reasonable for a whole year. So I thought if we did this for 1 year, that's great. This is going to be great. We can commit to this, something that's laid out for us, something that's completely different than we've done before, which is workbooks and papers and cut up cards, and this is something that can be laid out on the computer, which is a totally different medium than we had used before. That was another reason I thought this may work. It's a completely different medium, and who knows? I don't like computers, but maybe my daughter does.
How has Grace responded to working on the computer? How has that been different for her?
She loves it. She's not really a computer person either. It's basically playing games and doing her work on the computer, and she just loves it. She wants to do it every day.
That's huge. For a reluctant, struggling learner to want to do it?
Absolutely. Who was crying before, and now she's like, Mommy, I didn't do my Lexia today. Get off the computer, Mom. I need to get on my Lexia. Like, oh, geez, I guess I better get off the computer.
So she's telling you to get off the computer, but she needs to do her work.
That's right. We need to get another computer. So I would get off the computer, and she would get on and do all her work, and she just wanted to do it, which is just, first of all, a huge change. Well, and she likes the programs. When you see all the colors and all the fancy stuff happening on those programs, it just makes it fun for them, and sometimes they can see their progress in various games and programs, so that's nice for her. She likes that.
Which of the programs she's using with Wings to Soar are some of her favorites?
She likes Lexia. She likes Moby Mac, and then of course Nessie, which has all the fancy islands and stuff.
Moby Max, Lexia, and Nessie are three that we use a lot. Moby Max does a great job of helping to fill in the gaps, identifying exactly where the student's working in a skill area, and just having them work on precisely what it is they need to work on, which just validates that it's something I need to learn. But if they've mastered something, we're not wasting their time.
I love that. Yeah. Because that is something she doesn't like either. I had a hard time gauging it because here's my list, check, 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 check. We need to do all these whether you know it or not, And that's one thing that she and I butted heads, is because if she knows it already, she absolutely will not want to do it. Before that was a problem, but now this program is already gauged and programmed to skip those parts, like you say, that she already knows.
Right. One of the things the programs Wings to Soar's chosen are designed to assess where the student's at, and really, with every click of the mouse, what they do, whatever choices they make, determine what happens next. And so if they're getting it, they move on quickly. If they are struggling with it, they go back and rework something or have a reteaching.
Absolutely.
And that's personalized dynamic learning paths are what we look for when we're looking for quality programs to offer as a part of our packages for kids. So I'm glad to hear that that's really making a difference.
It really is. That absolutely is a must that we would need to continue with Grace, is that.
So what level would you say Grace was reading at before she started?
Yeah, she started at probably 3rd grade reading level. And of course, this all incorporates grammar, spelling, and as well as what you can actually read. Her reading level was at a 3rd grade level, and I'd say, based on what I've seen in Lexia and what she's reading as for books right now, she's probably up to 6th grade level, which is close enough for me.
And you started back in October.
And I was like, this is 5 months, 5 or 6 months.
Yeah, 5-6 months time. That's pretty amazing that we've made 3 years gains in that amount of time. And really, it's not like Grace was an exceptional case. There was a major breakthrough.
Yes.
But it's not like she's out of the ordinary. She's a typical kid who struggled and is a little bit of a late bloomer.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, it was a matter of just finding something that she enjoyed, and all the things we just talked about. That's customized, and once she knows something, you move on. If you don't, you just keep working at it, and that has worked for her. And wanting to do it every day. Because she wanted to do it every day, she did it every day, which I think increased the short amount of time it took her to bump herself up to those levels.
Yeah, that's great.
And because she wanted to read every day, and she was increasing her levels, she would want to read. We never did this before because, of course, she wasn't reading well enough, but she started reading at night before bed. So she would go to bed, and I would say, we put a light on and above her bed, a reading light, and she would start reading her read-aloud books, which were at the beginning point, 3rd grade level. But she would just read a chapter, which were like 2 pages at that point, and then she would love it. She'd love it. And then she'd turn off the light, and then, now she's reading chapters that are like 10 pages long, and she's like, oh, I don't want to go to bed yet, so I have to actually make her turn her light off.
That's a tough problem to have.
I know.
You have to make her turn her light off and quit reading now. For a kid who didn't want anything to do with reading 6 months ago, that's pretty amazing.
It's It really is. So I am just, over the moon happy about this.
Well,
So
and I'm so glad to hear that the transfer is happening. It's not just when she's engaged in the fun online programs, but
yeah,
it's transferring over to
well,
choosing to read real books because she wants to.
absolutely. I know. I love that. I just love it. I love seeing it.
That's great. Now, you mentioned a little while ago you're not very into computers. How easy or hard was it for you to get started with the programs you're using with Wings to Soar?
Well, it must have been pretty easy because I don't think I ran into any problems. It was just a download on the computer, and then we started in on our assessment tests, and then it got Grace right where she needed to be. If I did have any problems, I would just email you. If it was something easily fixed, you email me back. So it wasn't a problem at all.
It's really great to hear because one of the concerns I hear a lot from parents is, I'm not all that great with computers. Can I do this? And it sounds like from your experience that, even though you're not all that into computers, yeah, you can.
It's absolutely easy enough. And in fact, I don't really use devices, and there's a way to put the Lexia on pads, tablet pads, and we did that. Once I got it downloaded, it was super easy. The kids just sort of take it and go, and I don't have to think about it, so it's nice.
Great.
Really nice, yeah.
That is wonderful.
So if you were to pick one reason why you would recommend having a student work with Wings to Soar, what would be your top reason?
Top reason. I would say it was because it was fun, but I think even further than that, it's because it's customized to your child, because every child is different. So what works for one will not work for the other, but working through these programs will just tailor it right to your child, and that's really just perfect. That's just what everybody needs.
That's what Wings to Soar is all about. We want each student to have a custom learning plan that's tailored for who they are. That's the key to giving them the confidence and skills they need to succeed in school and in life.
I mean, because if you think about it, wouldn't that be the ideal thing? Even if you sent your child to traditional school, ideally you'd like, a tailored program for each child so they all can learn at their optimal way. But you can't do it that way. But this is great. This is great.
So do you see Grace continuing with Wings to Soar next year?
I do, actually. I would love to keep it going because it's working for her. So why stop something that's working great? So yes.
Do you have any tip of advice for other homeschooling moms with outside-the-box learners or have dyslexia? Do you have a piece of advice for them?
Well, I would just say to stay on top of it. I may have let this go a little long, this pattern of it's not working, we'll take a break. It's not working, let's change it up. I would not let that go so long and just keep at it, knowing that there is something out there. Do Wings to Soar because it works. Yeah, my advice would be just stick to it, keep looking out there for opportunities, that there is something out there that will work for your child.
Great. Thank you so much for your time today, Paul. I appreciate you sharing your insights and the success that Grace has had. It's so encouraging to hear when a kid who struggled for so long finally starts to make those breakthroughs.
Yeah, it's great to see. So thank you so much. It's just wonderful seeing her read.
Yay.
Yay.